Welcome to the United Way Difference, a program that discusses Oshkosh community needs and how local nonprofit agencies are supporting people in our area. United Way's focus in the areas of income, education, health, and volunteerism helps to build a stronger, more caring, and compassionate community. The United Way Difference is brought to you by the Oshkosh Area United Way.
Welcome to the United Way Difference. I'm Sue Ponick and I work at United Way, and with me my guest today is Lorraine Yarborough. Lorraine is the Executive Director of the Day by Day Warming Shelter, and we're going to talk about the shelter, but for some of you that may not know it, the shelter just closed on April 15th. And so it's like, now what for the Day by Day Warming Shelter, and where do we go from here? So welcome, Lorraine.
Thank you for having me.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
Hey, so talk to us a little bit about what the shelter is, why it was created, and what do you do there?
Okay, we just completed our 6th season.
That's amazing.
And I believe it's 6 years, so kind of 6 years, whatever. What the shelter does, we provide warm housing, temporary housing to individuals that may not have an opportunity, that are homeless. So we provide the food and showers, and it really is
and a
for a lot of
place to
people,
sleep.
and a place to sleep, and to feel safe. It's not only just, it's a safe warming shelter.
One of the things that I think I probably most like about the shelter is how respectful you are of the individuals who use the shelter. Do you want to talk a little bit about the philosophy of that?
Absolutely. A lot of the philosophy falls around that we're here to provide respect and dignity to those individuals that may not otherwise. They've already gone through enough in their lives. Circumstances have happened. It could be a catastrophic event in their family. It could also be it could be an abusive situation. Might be something happened in their life as a felony. So there's a really broad mental health. There's drugs, alcohol, felony. People have lost their jobs. The health insurance sometimes impact a lot of individuals. We've had guests that have lost everything because of the health insurance costs, where they had something catastrophic happen, and it just really is temporary housing.
So was it the insurance itself, or it was the health issue?
It was well, both. It was because of the health issue that ultimately the medical bills were so
right.
They were good citizens, wanting to make sure they pay their medical bills, ultimately forcing them to lose everything that they had.
Okay. Well, we were showing some photos as you were talking, but
that.
we're going to come back to those photos so that you can maybe explain what some
Sure.
of those are.
Sure.
But I mean, throughout the program, we're going to run those photos so people can take a look. So now, is it just a men's shelter? Is it a women's shelter? Can children come? Who
Sure.
can come to your shelter?
We are an adult, men and women's shelter, temporary housing for individuals that are homeless. We do not take children, just because the fact, first of all, if one of the pictures we'll show, it's an open environment. So and most of our guests do, like I said, have an AODA issue, and they have a felony. So we are not cannot take children.
And you certainly wouldn't want them to expose children to that environment.
Correct.
Even though you're safe there.
Right.
I mean, nobody's acting out necessarily at the shelter, but you still just don't want children.
They may act out, but what it is, we have our guidelines, and we have regular meetings with the homeless guests that come to us and explain those are the rules of the shelter. When anybody comes in, we make sure that they understand there's no drugs, alcohol, or any kind of weapons allowed in the shelter, and then they go through an inspection process. And we also, this is their home, as a lot of them will say, so they have chores. They help us keep the shelter clean. And so by setting those rules and those guidelines, and we also have a list of when there are some outbursts or behaviors, depending upon what they are, they may be removed. They may be removed for the night. They may be removed for 2 nights, or they may be removed for the season. It just depends upon what that outburst may be. Because like you said, we're a safe shelter.
Right. Now you talked about the season. So how long is your season?
Well, unfortunately, because of where we're located, I mean, the good thing is the Most Blessed Sacrament Church has just opened up their arms, embraced us in the community, and we are located at on 449 High Avenue, which is the backside. I guess it used to be the Newman School, And so we're in the basement of the church. And because when this was all set up, it's only a temporary, we're under conditional use permit. One of the conditional use permit from the city says that we can be open 180 days. Those 180 days was a board decision. Well, let's go for the coldest months. So we open October 15th, and we can only, the 180 day goes through April 15th.
Okay, and you did mention that you're in the lower level,
Right.
and we're going to see a picture in a little bit that shows all the beds and everything, but you're also limited to the number of people, yes?
That is correct. Because of this conditional use, we can only provide shelter to 25 guests a night. Okay. And, you know, it is first come, first serve, and they do not come onto the property until about 5 o'clock. They come up to the door, the guests do, and then it's the first come, first serve. And we may have some, which we have had, between 5, and so you can see them lined up. You know, this is in the winter, and you know it's cold. They're standing out there in the cold, but they start lining up about 3:30 in the afternoon, and then they come to the door. We give them numbers 1 through 25, and there's the beds, the mats. As you can see, they're all within an open room environment.
Now you also provide totes.
That
like
is correct.
A tub for their
They get 2
belongings.
totes.
Okay.
They get 2 totes. When they come in, the process, they come in, they sign in, so we know, they know who's there. We actually go through an inspection, and they go down, they sign up for a chore. They don't know what their chore is. They pull a stick, so they will help mop the floor, wipe down the tables, wipe down the mats so the mats are clean the bathrooms. We also do their laundry. So they get everything set up, and once they have that assigned, they take their totes. They're all numbered. They do not have names on them, but we have a spreadsheet that does keep track of who's who. And they have totes. They have one for their bedding and one for their personal belongings. Some of the guests will be coming back every night, so that way they're not out on the street carrying their personal belongings. And the reason why they're in totes, it's for safety reasons, for their own security, and of their collections.
So you started to walk us through
Yeah.
how this might occur. So if someone comes to the shelter, you said that they can't enter before 5 o'clock, but when they come in, they register.
Well, it's 6 o'clock.
Oh,
We
sorry,
open at 6 o'clock.
o'clock.
They line up at the door at 5.
Oh, got it.
They don't come on property. At 6 o'clock, they come. We open the door, and we rely on our volunteers, hospitality volunteers, and who've really gotten to know the guests. We've got some phenomenal recurring volunteers, and they have to show ID or tell us their ID, what their number, social security number is. Once they go through that inspection, they sign in. Then they go to the next station, is where they are. We don't pat down, but we do all the search through their belongings. If they have a backpack, purse, bags, because we want to make sure, like I said, we're a safe shelter. And if there's any kind of drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Now, some of the guests, because they live on the streets, may have a knife. They may have some kind of a weapon, but that we confiscate it for the night, lock it up, and give it back to them in the morning. But like I said, being safe, so they go through the process once they've checked through, and then they will go down. When I say downstairs, so this is another issue, is we're not really able to take clients with disabilities at this point if they're not able to go down the stairs. So that's another big concern. And so, but once they get down the stairs, then they sign up for a shower, and also they make their beds, get their totes, and make their beds before they go to a meal, a nice hot meal.
And let's talk about the meal, because I know you're a good cook, but you can't cook every night. So how does that work?
Well, we cannot, because the conditional use permit. They have a wonderful kitchen at the church.
Oh, wow, look at that meal.
Group, look at the meals.
Right.
Oh my gosh! And our guests say the biggest problem of coming to shelter is they gain weight because of the food. I tell you, the volunteers.
This is a volunteer.
This is a
group now
volunteer
that's
group.
Prepared
Absolutely.
this meal and brought it in.
They bring it in hot because we're not able to cook at the shelter. So every night for 180 nights, a group, it might be an agency, it might be neighbors and friends, it might be a business, it may be a church organization. A variety of people are they're very dedicated to, you can see they bring in the big Nescos, and they have a variety of food, and we make sure that it's a balanced diet, and they will also bring in the drinks. And so they start coming about 5:30, and they get everything set up, all the meals are set up, so when the guests come in, and they've made their beds, and they've done sign up for the chores or shower. Then they come over and they go through like a line,
Like a buffet line.
Buffet line, and are served wonderful meals. And thank you for all those wonderful meal teams. And they sign up. We start signing up well prior to our opening in October. So September, our calendars open up. People sign up and groups, and by November we've been full, all the slots through April 15th. So that just goes to show the community outreach and support for our meals.
That's really good. So we've gotten to the point where people have come in, they've had a meal.
Right.
I know that you've had some success. I know it's a project that we helped support, is your resource coordinator.
Correct.
That position. So how do people access the resource coordinator and learn more about what might help them to get out of the current situation that they're in and more in a self-sufficient state?
Our resource coordinator comes in a bit later, so she's there in the evenings when all the guests arrive, and sometimes she may even stay till midnight. But it's our mission and vision, our goal to meet with every one of the guests. And she meets and sits down with everyone. Some don't want the source, but other ones do, and she sits down and sets what are your goals.
Does she do that like on the first night, or does she wait?
She waits. We wait. You wait, and then we start meeting and tell them what the shelter's about and what opportunities we have, what the programs are, and then based upon that, then start setting up appointments, if you will, to get going. And then because some of the successes of it, then more want to get help and understand what this program really is. So
it's more than just a safe place if you want it to be.
That is correct. We really do a lot with program because our goal really truly is work towards self-sufficiency. And what does that look like for all of our guests?
Okay, so have you seen success?
Oh my gosh, it's been a phenomenal year. So excited. And a lot of really, we've done a lot of training, and what does that look like? And our resource coordinator does a phenomenal job.
Training for whom?
For each one of our staff are trained.
Okay.
I'm sorry, our staff go through training. Our resource coordinator, we work a lot of the mental health. We go through the trainings of the understanding mental health and the traumatic brain and ADODA, and also collaborating with all the resources that are available in the community, and understanding what those resources are. She then, when she meets individually, can make those recommendations, or she will do that connection to connect them to those resources. The other piece that we found that really has made a difference is bringing the resources to the agency, and once a month,
right to the shelter.
Right to the shelter. We set them up, and so that way our guests can meet with those resources right there in the shelter.
Okay, well, we're going to come back and talk a little bit about successes. We have like 2 minutes before we're going to go to break. So talk to me about the rest of the day. So now people have been sleeping.
Okay, well, right after dinner,
after
dinner, we do have an area set up with a television, or we may even have some entertainment come in. We collaborate a lot with the university. Some of the students come at night on a Wednesday night, and they set up there's a gym upstairs, and they'll do activities. It might be music, it might be games, it might be basketball, but it's wonderful to try to do that collaboration. And also we've had musicians come in and perform. But that really truly is a downtime. Most of them, because they've been out walking all day long, are exhausted.
Right.
So just having a warm room, they may lay on their mats or their beds, and others will start taking a shower, or they just watch TV, and they just are just resting.
Okay. And then they go to sleep.
Then they go to sleep. Lights out at 10 o'clock at night. So lights actually start going down about 8 o'clock.
And we wake up in the morning too?
Yes, we wake up in the morning to a nice bag breakfast. Some of our volunteers come in. They get coffee and getting ready for the day, but we do send them out with a bag breakfast that's provided. And it's a protein, and it might be an egg, it might be fruit, and a breakfast bar, but then they're out the door by 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. And then you get ready for the next day?
We get ready for the next day. We have our meetings.
Well, when we come back, I want to talk about, now that the shelter has been closed, what do we do? So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back to learn more about the second half of the day-by-day warming shelter season.
It's not a charity. It's more than a charity. It's about helping people we live with. It's about being the type of person that the 6-year-old version of ourselves wanted us to be. It's about community and looking out for one another. It's about money, yes, but it's so much more than money. It's about friendship and common values. It's about opening doors when others are slammed shut. It's about giving kids a place to be kids and growing up knowing they live in a community that cares about them. It's about making sure that everyone gets to see the dentist, because we want to make sure that they have every last tooth in those smiles. Ultimately, that's it. It's about the smiles, old smiles and new smiles. It's about us, all of us, our community living united, because great things happen when we live united. Will you join us?
Welcome back. My guest today is Lorraine Yarborough. Lorraine is the executive director of the Day by Day Warming Shelter, and we're just talking about the first half of your season when the guests arrive and stay overnight. But then on April 15th, you closed.
We close, yeah.
So that has to be a really emotional day.
It is, and this is my first season, and they've told me about it, other staff that have been here for a couple of years, what that feels like, and on Sunday, because they leave on Sunday morning, which was Easter morning. You really do. Your stomach is just turning because you feel so much for those guests. That where are they now? Where do they go? Because you get to know the guests pretty well throughout the season, and then so now where they go.
Well, okay, you just mentioned something. You said you get to know the guests. So are the guests there all season? Do they come and go? I mean,
Yeah.
what is the makeup? Do you have does somebody really stay 180 days?
Yeah.
Or are they there for a week and maybe something happens in their life and now they can go someplace else?
There's a real variety. We talk about the number of guests we serve this year. Just through March, we've had we say 131. We've actually added 10 more than were last year. Individuals, where we talk about that they are unique individuals.
Okay.
So this is the first time there. They may stay there for 180 days. We do have some guests that they just are not able. This is it.
Yeah.
This is their life, and just having that, taking that time in the evening for that meal, shelter, sleep, but now the elements of the weather, etc., is just an awesome break for them. But then there's what's really exciting. That's why this case management is so important, and what the agency is really striving for is that self-sufficiency. And it could be economic, it can be mental health. There's a whole different reason for self-sufficiency and finding that stability. And that's
and I'm going to point out that if somebody just joined our program on this half, they don't know about the case management. So it's more than just a warming shelter. Now you're actually providing direct services and helping people who want to be taken to another level of self-sufficiency to find the resources that they need.
And it also goes back to that treating the individual with respect and dignity, huge. And we really emphasize that with our staff, but we also expect that from our guests.
Okay.
It's a mutual agreement. We really emphasize that.
From guest to guest,
guest to guest,
to guest, and guest to
absolutely,
staff. Okay.
absolutely. Anybody, even our volunteers.
And
our volunteers, anybody that's affiliated with our shelter, and that's where our guests. I think this is why it's been really very positive, because the community, people don't understand homelessness, and they're already embarrassed by their situation. A lot of them, what has happened to them, but the guests have come back and said to us that they feel this is a home. This is their temporary home, but it's a home. And they feel safe and they feel secure, and it gives them hope. And so when our case management, going back to that, that's all part of that, the human services part of that, of trying to help them and understand their situation. And each one is unique. No one is the same. To try to work toward that self-sustainability. But first of all, it's understanding the individual, and then understanding what are their goals, and by case managers sitting down and working with what are your goals. It's not what our goals are for you, but what are your goals that we can help you attain them. And I think once we changed how we approach that, it's just been successful because it gives them the sense of being independent, of making the decisions for themselves.
So it's really participant driven.
It is very participant driven, absolutely, and it really is showing.
Well, show me some results.
Okay.
Tell me some results.
Well, we just finished our numbers for this season as of March. Now we don't have through April 15th, but through March we've actually had 78 guests get into some kind of housing.
Okay.
You know, and about 36 of them are now living with family and friends, and that's one thing when the guests come to us, that they have burned their bridges with family. There's one of our wonderful. I can use her name, Tina, because she allowed us to. Tina came to us. They moved to here from another area. She's been with us as her second or third season, coming and didn't realize when they ran out of money. And when they ran out of money, ultimately, she ended up being homeless. Okay. And she didn't think she would ever qualify to get housing before having a job. And sometimes the barriers of getting a job is because if they find out you're homeless and you don't have a shower, you may not have the clothing.
So it's a real catch-22. I mean,
is.
you have to have a home to have a job, but you need a job to get a home.
Correct.
Yeah.
It is. And she's a great example where the success was because of our case management and identifying that goal. Her goals were to get housing so she could get a job. And through the efforts of the collaboration in the community, the Housing Authority, AVACAP, and the strong support that this agency does provide for our guests, she got a voucher, she got housing, and now she's working, and where she's living, the community has embraced her. We just found out.
That's great.
They're donating, because you go into an apartment, but you don't have anything.
Right.
You don't have food, you don't have furniture, you know, they had what was in their tote. So now you're going into housing, but everybody's in the community that she's living have embraced her and helping her. And just to see the impact in her personal life has just been phenomenal.
That's amazing.
So, and again, like I said, sometimes just getting that one step, they do reconnect with their families. Another gentleman here has really got into a housing with a group of gentlemen, which is wonderful. He struggled because a lot of these have some form of mental health, something catastrophic in their lives, and he had lost his support system. He lost due to his father passing away, etc. So it relies on us then to take on that next position to help them do that collaboration and get them the resources.
And you know, we don't think about it, but lives are so fragile.
Absolutely.
And if you think about your life in a sense maybe as a house of cards, and if one key card fails, the entire house comes down.
Absolutely.
You know?
And we see that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, you've closed the shelter now, and you said it was a difficult thing to do, but you needed to because of the conditional permit. So, do you provide services for the rest of the year, even though they can't stay there?
Correct. What we do 2 days a week, we continue through the summer only daytime from 10 to 2.
So this is your summer outreach?
This is our summer outreach program. Yes, and this is exciting. Well, the thing is, our case management, that's the hard part, because you get this continuum of care and this continuum of support, and then we close April 15th.
Right.
You don't want to lose that momentum. So what it works out is 2 days a week from 10 to 2. Individuals that are homeless that have been with us for the prior season, they can come in and they get shelter. Some will take a nap, they'll take a shower, they'll do their laundry. They just get out of the elements and just to be indoors for a while. So we will continue that through the whole summer.
Well, you know, and that's really good, because if somebody's out searching for a job, you can't do it with dirty clothes and without a shower.
That's correct.
So you can get, and maybe people could get a shower, but then where are they going to get their clothes washed? And you don't want to put dirty clothes on a clean body.
Right.
So this is really wonderful. Yep. So is it just 2 days, or they can come one of?
They can come any of we put a calendar on the door. Okay. So the calendars are posted so they can plan ahead. Okay. We do plan with certain days, and it evolves around the shelter and what else is going on in within the building, and those are posted so they know they can come in. And what they'll come in and take a rest, and they may go over to the Salvation Army for lunch and then come back, and sometimes just even to sit down and chit chat, to have a conversation, just to talk, and just to get out of their, and maybe most of them sleep too, because they don't sleep out in the elements as much, or under the bridges or wherever, so they may just sleep too.
Okay, so when the shelter does close, do many people move up to the Appleton shelters or to other shelters?
Yeah,
do we know this?
yeah, we do. We kind of keep track of that, and they know we're closing, and some will leave right away, and and the warming shelter in the Fox Valley is wonderful.
Is it a warming shelter or is
it's a warming shelter. There's two parts. So they go to the warming shelter because some people do choose not to live in an apartment. They don't want that responsibility, so they do prefer to live this way. And then we have some that go to the Homeless Connections.
Oh, okay.
And that's the one that's more of apartment setting, and they can also continue with the support because we model after those, the shelter and the Homeless Connections, and we actually try to all collaborate together on those resources because we do know where people are based upon our case management and where in the system we do track. But we do know when they're able to get rides, they can head up there. Mm-hmm. So we got 3 or 4 of them that went to Homeless Connections, and 2 or 3 that I am aware of that went to the warming shelter up there.
So this is kind of a tough question to ask, but why do we need to have another shelter when we have Father Carr's Place to Be and we have the Christine Ann shelter? And I know that Christine Ann serves people with domestic abuse issues, right. But why is there a need for another shelter? Because
we're a shelter of second chances where we take individuals with the alcohol, the drugs, or might have some of a felony.
So somebody can actively be using drugs or alcohol and they can come to your shelter. They just can't bring it in with them.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. And they're safe. And there's a reason why they are using a substance abuse or their AODA, where with Father Carr's, they're not able to, they do not take individuals that do heavy substance abuse. They don't, when it's an apartment setting, it's a little more difficult to observe or watch someone who may have some AODA issues. So that's what makes us a unique shelter.
Okay. And of course we understand that Christine, and you need to have an issue of domestic violence.
And when an individual comes in, every individual comes in, we actually do an intake process and identify what those issues are. We may give them the phone and the individual will call Christine Ann's to see if they're under what their criteria are. And they make that determination whether they would be right to go over there. If they are, then absolutely, we do utilize Christine Ann's. Otherwise, they make that determination, and then that would kind of bring them back to the shelter.
Right. So now you did say that you had a number of homeless individuals that you said
78 got into it. We actually did have. We actually had about 5 that did lose housing, came back, but still 73 are in housing. Okay. They impact that community, and then we.
And how long do you measure that? Do you measure that till to the next season?
Correct. Okay. Correct. And if we know, we also throughout the season, if we do find out someone who has left has gotten housing, we do put that into our totals right now.
Okay.
But they all talk about employment. 50 of our guests are employed. 30 came unemployed, so they do have employment too. So,
and where are they getting jobs?
There's a real variety in the community. We've actually, Oshkosh Corp has hired some. We've had some with construction. We've had some that might be at the grocery stores. It's just a real variety of who has embraced them.
Okay, so in the last minute or so that we have, what is the vision for the organization moving forward?
We've got a very wonderful strategic board with experts that talk, understand the need for year-round shelter. And so our goal within the next year, 2 years, is to find our own location. We appreciate where we're at, but we do need our own location in order to move that vision of having our own shelter, to be open year-round, and to continue growing the programs for the homeless population in Oshkosh.
Okay, and I know that you talked a little bit about volunteers, and so if people want to volunteer, they can contact you at?
We're at the warming. You could go to our website, the Warming Shelter.
It's up on the screen right now as well.
.com. Go there, and we do have volunteer opportunities, or call us at the actually the 203 number, the administration, because the shelter's closed. So call the 203-4536 and talk to our administrative staff and help you. Because we do have opportunities to volunteer. We rely on this community.
And I know that my church does collections of hand warmers and granola bars and some other things. So if people are looking for something that they need, that they would like to collect, even confirmation kids or whomever.
Right.
Thank you. We've got to cut it.
Oh,
we gotta
darn.
end.
We're just getting
started.
started.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for watching our program.